This is Nag from Tsjuder, and you are listening to the Dan Chan Show.
So I am joined on the show by one of the forefathers of black metal, the guys from Tsjuder. With me, first off, how are you guys doing tonight?
Fine.
Good. Are you based in central Norway, or are you in Oslo, or are you in the wilderness somewhere?
I am kind of in the middle of Norway, in between Bergen and Oslo.
Yeah.
But originally from just outside of Oslo.
Yeah, I am just outside Oslo.
I was in Oslo for the first time a few weeks ago, and I was really pissed off at your alcohol laws.
Yeah, they suck.
So on to the music, guys. You guys are releasing your new album, Helvegr, on the 23rd of June. What is the anticipation like to get this out? You know, I needed this album. It's awesome. Are you excited to be getting this to the masses?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a long wait for us as well, because we finished the album about 1.5 years ago. Yeah, it will be interesting to see the reaction on it.
But this time the lag between composing and recording the music and releasing it's so long. So it feels like an old album and it's not yet released.
So, you know, it's been a big break between the last album and now. 8 years in total, I think it is. 7-8 years, is it? Why the long break, and what made you decide now was the right time?
I think that this wasn't done on purpose at all. We've been rehearsing and playing kind of as normal, but there's several factors. So if we start like from the start, we always need some time between one album until we can start working on the next one, just to kind of gather ourselves and get some distance and new inspiration and all that. And we decided to re-record Throne of the Goat as a 20-year anniversary thing.
Yeah.
That didn't really stop us doing anything, but it was something we did. One of the main problems was that when we started to make new music, we quite soon discovered that me and Draugluin, we've always been on the same kind of wavelength, and we have the same goals with the music.
Yeah.
But it turned out that Antichristen was going a different direction than us. So we were struggling for some years with that before we figured that it wasn't possible to continue with him. So that kind of made a little delay, I guess.
Okay.
And then COVID struck, and I don't know if that really delayed us, but it made us record the album differently.
Yeah.
So we figured why not use whatever time we need instead of stressing it.
Can you say, I mean, what was the situation with Antichristen and going in a different musical direction? Did he just not want to do what you guys wanted to do, and that was it? Just it was an agreed parting ways in an amicable way, shall we say?
I think Antichristen has always been into different music than me and Draugluin. And he's basically a rock and roll drummer.
Yeah.
Which has been good for Tsjuder, because he brought kind of untraditional elements into the music, and in a great way.
Yeah.
So I think he wanted to do more black and roll, or
right,
while we wanted to kind of continue the conservative path.
And how do you guys approach the writing and recording process? You know, you said it's taken 1.5 years. Is it the same method now as it always was from the start? Or has technology made it a little easier for you, or hampered it, or made it a little bit, I don't know what? I mean, is it the same as it was?
I think in Tsjuder we have composed music in many different ways during the years.
Yeah.
So, for example, Antili was very much composed in the rehearsal room.
Mm.
And as Nag said, there was Antichristen wanted to play more rock, and you can actually hear that on some of the songs on Antili. like Demonic Supremacy and Antliv itself.
Uh-huh.
But Helvegr was composed a bit differently. So basically, when we realized that it was very difficult to compose music in the rehearsal room, I just started to compose music myself.
Yeah.
And that's the way lots of Helvegr was composed.
Yeah, well, basically what happened was that Draugluin was fed up. And I'm extremely glad that he just decided to take things in his own hands. Otherwise, we would be stuck. But I think that there's no recipe on how we do it. It's just things turn out the way they do. I think we made all our releases differently somehow. It's interesting what you're saying about technology because, of course, it's easier today. I don't think we have used technology that much to make music, but it's definitely a possibility. Well, Draugluin did himself, but not that much shared between us.
I see.
But we might in the future.
But you get together in the room, you do it the traditional way of getting, instead of sending files over the internet to each other, you're close enough to be able to do things in a room together.
Yeah, so I think technology was kind of important on Helvegr. I mean, we are kind of old, so when we started out, we had to
learn
record tape, in the 90s.
Yeah.
And now we have, you can, like DAWs, so you can record on a computer. Mm-hmm. And then it's really easy to record several layers of guitars, for example, by yourself, and you can see what sounds good and what does not sound so good.
Sure.
So it's much easier now to compose music. And I think perhaps you can hear that also on Helvegr, that there are more layers of guitars on this one than on, for example, Antliv, which was composed mostly in the rehearsal room. So it's a bit different, this one,
So going through the themes, what themes are running through this release? I believe you're leaning heavily on the Norse mythology on this release. And, you've obviously had a very anti-Christian, anti-religious past. So more mythology this time round?
It's both. We don't have any plan. When we write the lyrics, we just write whatever comes to mind. Yeah. And it all depends on the mood, the atmosphere, whatever, and then it turns out to be a lyric. And at least for me, it's I'm not a guy who decides like today I'm going to write a lyric. Something happens. I can hear a phrase, or I can be walking in the mountains, or I can drive the car, whatever. And there's something that inspires me, and it might be a lyric in one day, or it might take 2 years.
I was going to say, do you find that inspiration can come to you anytime, like especially within the wilderness and the area that you live in, because you're drawing that to the Norse mythology and things like that? Do you find that, you can be inspired even when you're not in a writing process?
Yeah, of course. You can be inspired whenever.
Yeah.
Concerning the Norse mythology theme, as I've said before, I think all Norwegians should kind of grow up with that. We'll learn about it in school, and it's something that's always fascinated us. We haven't written that much lyrics based on it before, but it's always been something. So, and I don't think it's too much of it on Helvegr either. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of songs.
Yeah.
So it's a good mixture.
Are you still vehement in your anti-religious views these days as say you were back in the early 90s?
I think the views are the same.
Yeah.
Maybe the appearance has calmed down.
Do you still get the same buzz from writing and recording as say you did 30 years ago when you were much younger? You still finding that zest for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the same basically.
It's the same.
I guess we have I think much of the essence or spirit of Tsjuder has remained quite constant through the decades.
Yeah.
It's I feel like kind of the black metal scene has kind of evolved and moved around us, but we have been more or less the same. And of course, we have evolved as musicians, but I mean, the inspiration and the kind of the driving force is pretty much the same.
I mean, how do you keep that ferocity up? You know, that fire burning to keep the incredible pace going. How do you find that? Is it just forever burning inside you?
I think it's part of us, and also kind of don't be. I mean, do your own thing. Don't be. I don't know the English word. Don't be kind of too
narrow-minded.
No, I was thinking more. Don't look what everyone else is doing. Like, do your own thing, and but kind of believe in yourself.
And also, we have this idea about how Tsjuder should be. So when we compose music or lyrics for Tsjuder, it has to have a certain aggression and brutality. And if we compose something that does not satisfy that, we don't use it for Tsjuder.
I mean, I think you guys are keeping it true, you know, and so many bands aren't. What do you think to that? You know, I mean, what bands are keeping it real? I mean, your sound is flawless for me, and for the black metal scene, it really is flawless. But so many of the bands seem to just go by the wayside. What's your opinion on that?
I think people can do whatever they want, but
keeping it true, you know, you guys keep it true.
Yeah, well, yeah, we do that, and I don't really care if others decide to change their path.
Yeah,
that's totally up to them.
Of course,
as long as it doesn't affect us. So I don't really have any opinions. Of course, I can be bummed if I'm anticipating an album to be like really good.
Yeah.
Then it's something completely different.
But do you hear bands and they call themselves black metal or even true black metal, and then it's not? Is that that must piss you off?
I don't know if it's like that anymore. To be honest, I don't think neither me or Draugluin, we don't really keep up. We're not up to date on what's happening these days.
Yeah.
I know in the late 90s, that was kind of a problem, that people were labeling their music black metal, and it wasn't at all. I don't think it's the same these days. It might be, but at least that's not something I don't care about it. So it's.
I understand. Okay.
The same with me. I used to care a lot about this in the early 90s, but at that time, black metal was also a bit. I mean, the scene, everything was a bit more extreme and different in the early 90s. And now I'm kind of used to people claiming to play black metal while they play something completely different.
Do you guys like reminiscing about the past? Is that something you like to reflect on? Because I remember my first touch of black metal was I think it was 94, when you've got the Kerrang magazine, when it was so exploited, and it was black metal, it's church burnings, you got Varg on the front cover, all his kitted up tools and everything. What conversations were happening back in the 90s? Did you realize that you were onto a scene that was going to be so groundbreaking?
Not at all.
No.
No, but at least for me, I kind of miss those times. I don't know. Well, the reason I miss it was because the scene, at least the scene that we were part of, was much closer and it was kind of a really close group. We were having a kind of a great time together.
Yeah.
I miss that, and I also kind of miss the atmosphere with the music, especially the demo tapes.
Yeah.
So I mean, you were really excited. You got a new tape, or you bought a tape, and it was probably because the front cover was looking decent. Yeah. And then you went home and you put it in the tape player, and you were much more open-minded, I think, at least for me, regarding the music back then. I think if I listen to quite many of those old demo tapes in today's standard, it would be probably crap. But at the time, it was kind of real. They did it with passion, and there was an atmosphere around it.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm kind of surprised about how many of those old albums that still are really good. I think it was very much good music composed in the early 90s.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the conversations these days? Do you still talk to bands in the scene? Is Norway still? I mean, I think I read something that someone said that Norway hasn't got as much of a scene these days as it used to. But do you still talk to the bands, the original guys, or is it quite distant?
We have a kind of our ring of friends, or so to say.
Yeah.
So I think we are very much in contact, but it's not like it used to be, where you went to Elm Street and there was 100% certainty that you would meet someone you knew.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore. But yeah, of course we're in contact with.
Moving on, live wise, what's on the agenda to get this, back this album up? What's happening for shows this year or next year or the whole cycle? What's happening?
This year it's not that good. We're playing Midgardsblot in Norway in August.
Uh-huh.
And then we are playing in Mexico Metal Fest. And then there's a tour as well, which isn't announced, so we can't really say anything about
that. Is that Europe? Can you say that much?
No.
Okay, it's not Europe, or you can't say.
You can.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it sucks. I wish it was announced, but I don't want to kind of do anything wrong by it.
Of course.
Yeah.
We don't want to.
So there's those three things in 2023.
Okay.
2024, we really hope that there will be more.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Watch this space. No, I was going to say, how important are shows to you guys?
It's not that important for me, to be honest.
Okay.
But I like to play gigs, of course. But I prefer composing music, and that part of it is what I find most interesting with music. Of course, I like to, yeah.
That was one of my other questions. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the studio and that whole process, or do you prefer the live process and the road? Do you both agree on the same thing?
No.
No.
I really dislike being in a studio.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. So that's good for. I suppose it's good for the yin and yang of you guys working together.
It probably is. We're that's well said. Yeah. But I think for both of us, going in a studio, for me, it's exciting the first few days, and then it goes.
Yeah.
Dive. And I think for both of us, whenever we're on the plane and we're leaving, of course we're both excited and prepared for what's to come.
So can I mention the corpse paint? How much does the persona change when the corpse paint goes on? Do you have a persona for the stage, or is it just you all the way through?
I think it's us. We don't. It's not a theater.
No.
It's kind of a reflection of us.
So how important is the corpse paint to you? Because a lot of bands have decided not to use it nowadays, but you've consistently been there.
Yeah, for sure. It's 100%.
Which I think is good. I want to. That's what I want to see from a black metal band.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, for us, it's very important, for sure, and we will never continue using it.
I think the band's appearance on stage and how you behave on the stage has to fit the music.
Absolutely.
So the show also needs to be kind of extreme and brutal in a way, but we don't plan how we do it. Everything is just natural, but we of course, you have to keep up with the music.
I understand. And obviously, who is part of your live band these days? Has that been quite consistent over the years, or is it changed? Obviously, with Anti-Christian, you've got a touring drummer in now, I assume.
For drummer now, we have John Rice. Of course, the problem with John is that he lives in the States, and he also plays in other bands. Yeah. So we ask him if he's available, and also we have to see what kind of if it's economically possible. I mean, if we play a small show in Norway, it wouldn't be possible to bring him here. It's expensive.
So do you have other banks of musicians you can tap into that can come and play the odd show here and there?
Yeah, we're playing. We have a pretty constant with a guy called Eivind Bry, which plays in Svart Lotus and Mortem. So he's been joining us for most of the shows. Yeah, but we don't want to kind of make any final decision on anything. No, sure. I think for now, it's nice that it's me and Draugluin, and we are free to do whatever.
Do you find that's easier for you two? It's just two decision makers, and then you can bring people in, or do you think you'll, get another full-time drummer in? How do you see that future part?
For me, the ideal part would be to have a drummer that lives
close.
And also that really fits into the band.
Sure.
But that being said, it's like the work with John Rice on Helvegr was really good.
Yeah.
So the distance, I thought the distance that he lived in the US and we lived in Norway would be a problem, but it's not that difficult now with internet, and he can record and send us stuff.
Sure.
But it's easier if you have a drummer that you know well, and when you play together, you get, samspilt, the word. When you learn how the other drummer behave on stage and stuff like that, so it's easier to do good concerts.
I get it.
Yeah.
So with so many cool tracks, how do you go about choosing tracks to play live? Is it difficult?
Yes, it's difficult actually.
How do you decide?
We try to have some tracks from old albums. And we have to also see what fits, the whole set list has to we have to have some like all full-on blast songs, and then we also have to have those more quiet down songs. We try to make a mixture, and also the set list has to fit the drummer.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of songs that we have to play them.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Cool. And then there is the last part is, and that will be harder now with Helvegr, I think, because we are a trio, so we have one guitar player, and some of the songs are kind of composed for two guitars.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out how to do that. Yeah. Which songs are easy to play alone, and we have to see.
Yeah. Now, Nag, is that, I believe are you brewing beer? Or is it, how did you start brewing beer, and will there ever be a Tsjuder beer, or is there a Tsjuder beer? I don't even know that.
There is. But it's only for the band.
It's only for the band. That's not fair. I'm drinking Spanish beer. It's not as good as yours. What kind of beer is it? What do you like brewing?
I like to brew everything.
Really?
Yeah, and I just try everything. I think that's the exciting thing. Just try new stuff and see how it tastes. And you have periods, like you have, like everyone, you have a period where you brew like 10 IPAs, and then you get bored by that, and you start to make more exciting beers.
Yeah.
And so, but the Tsjuder beer is, of course, it's called Tsjuder's Black Blood.
Yeah.
And we have Tsjuder's Black Blood number 2 now.
Right.
Yeah, and that's almost done, so we'll need to make a number 3.
Because it's like so many bands are doing it. 1349 doing it. Obviously, you got Trooper started doing it. Metallica are doing whiskies. bands are doing, Behemoth are doing coffee. There's like so much. Do you think you'll ever make it a thing, commercialize it?
I mean, we know 1349 quite well, and I live really close to Sideman.
Yeah.
Based on what they're saying, there will never be a Tsjuder beer. I mean, what they've done is great.
Yeah.
I just know all the work behind it.
Yeah.
All the struggle.
It's not easy.
It's not easy in Norway.
So a couple of questions before we go. We're short on time. Being from a scene that has caused controversy and being in the scene for so long, what's the craziest thing anyone said about you or the band? Has that ever happened to you in the press or in a local situation where it's like, oh, that band, dude, oh my God, did you hear what they did? Has that ever happened to you guys?
No, I think the only thing is we have had some funny comments on the Gods of Black Blood video.
Yeah.
So
good comments.
Yeah, and that's the most interesting ones.
Okay, that's pretty tame.
I think one comment was that we're old guys trying to be young or something, and that's spot on. So.
So, what's the one thing that pisses you off about the industry in 2023? What pisses you off? And how do we keep black metal underground?
I think the way is to keep it underground is to continue to make music that isn't for the masses.
Yeah.
And don't care about... the way we make music is that we make the music we like.
Yeah.
So as long as you continue doing that... You'll be fine.
That's fine. And what is there anything that pisses you guys off? This industry, or is it the internet that's you off, or socials, or is there anything like that that's like does your head in?
Yeah, of course, all the woke shit, Antifa and all that crap.
Yeah,
and everything is going to be so fucking politically correct, which is just it goes against everything about the black metal. So when they start to boycott stuff, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, is that a shared opinion, Draugluin?
Yeah, I think so. I discussed with I think that was with Sideman. We discussed there was this notion of safe spaces in black metal, which is so.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so stupid. You can't have safe. It's just silly.
Yeah.
When it comes to black metal, I think black metal has like. The visual appearance of black metal with corpse paint and all that, I think has some commercial appeal, which some bands has benefited from. But real true black metal is not for the masses because it's too extreme. So I don't think it will ever be like really, really commercialized. But there will be a black metal that has some of the image, but they will not play like proper black metal, I think.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. Good luck with the album, and I hope to see you on the road in one of these tours that you're talking about very soon.
Thank you. Thank you for taking your time to interview us. It's been a pleasure.